The opinions and statements made by the guests of the Success in Practice podcast are their own, and I do not endorse or accept responsibility for their positions. Any information given by myself or the guests is educational in intention and not to be taken as medical advice. If you choose to act on the content involved in the podcast, you do so at your own risk. Okay, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Success in Practice podcast. Today I'm joined by Amanda Oosterweghel. Have I said that? Did I say that correctly, Amanda?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, great. Amanda completed her osteopathic training, including honours with distinction at RMIT in Melbourne. Amanda loves treating all ages, from school-aged children to the elderly. Prior to osteopathy, Amanda worked as a myotherapist. She incorporates her myotherapy and dry needling skills to provide a unique approach to her osteopathic treatment. She enjoys treating a wide range of conditions, including headaches, jaw pain, and low back pain. As a parent and being from a close-knit family, she understands the importance for healthcare for all age groups. She loves to work with the whole family from top to bottom. Amanda has completed further training to become a qualified Perrin practitioner and is currently studying the 2-year advanced training under the guidance of Dr. Perrin. The Perrin Technique may be useful for myalgic encephalomyelitis, otherwise known as ME. I think it's a bit of a mouthful, but ME is probably the better short version. Chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and also long COVID. She has recently assisted Dr. Perrin on his tour of Australia, which I think only just recently concluded, teaching his technique and protocol to Australian osteopaths. Amanda, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate doing this. There's a bit of a time difference between us here in Sydney and over there in Perth, but I really appreciate you doing it. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I guess the first thing I want to ask you, and what I ask all the people that start with me or come on the podcast, people are really interested in your backstory, what makes you you, about you growing up and what led you to osteopathy. Start us off. Where'd you grow up as a child, and tell us about a bit about your background, your school life, and then what made you become an osteopath.
Well, I kind of grew up a bit of everywhere. My dad is ex-RAF. He was a fighter pilot. And then
Cool. That is so cool.
It is so cool. And then went back to uni to study aeronautical engineering. So we lived everywhere. I was actually born in Perth, but I'd never lived here until 3 years ago. And then we lived in the States for a while. And then when my dad left the Air Force, we were living in Canberra at the time. So I spent most of my schooling years in Canberra and in boarding school in country New South Wales. And then after school, I moved to Canada for a year, and I played rugby union of all sports. And at that rugby union club, there was a physiotherapist there that was phenomenal. In Canada at the time, they study for 7 years or something crazy. And he was just so clever, and his understanding of the human body was really, really cool. So that's kind of what piqued my interest in treating. And then I kind of moved home and was looking at options on like what I could study to sort of gain that level of awesomeness that he had. And I found in Canberra it's called soft tissue therapy, but in parts of Australia it's called myotherapy. So that's a 3-year degree that I did in Canberra. And my very first anatomy and physiology teacher was an osteopath.
Right.
Her name was Sarah. I don't remember her last name. And she was phenomenal. She was a new grad. She just graduated osteo, and she was just so clever.
What year
And
was this?
This was like 20 years ago.
Okay.
Just the way she looked at the human body and her knowledge of biomechanics was just floored me. And then she was replaced in semester two because she had to move away for her husband's work by another new grad osteo. And he was equally as clever. His name was Riker Moore.
Right.
And he was also phenomenal, and just a really clever person. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be that awesome. So I spent the next 15 years working towards that goal.
Okay, so you completed myotherapy.
Yeah.
Did you work as a myotherapist before you
Yeah.
continued studying?
Yeah, I did for when I started the osteo degree, I'd been working as a myo for 10 years already.
Right. So, okay, so this is in 2000 and circa
Six.
2004, 5, 6.
Yeah, yeah. I moved back to Australia
Okay.
from Canada in 2005.
Okay. So you spent 3 years studying myotherapy. I guess that makes
Mm-hmm.
it 2008. You then worked for 10 years and then began your osteopathic studies in 2018, 17,
16, yeah.
16. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was down at RMIT.
Yes.
So did you have a choice of, I guess, going to either RMIT, VU, or SCU at the time? There would have been those three
Yeah. I
universities.
I did have the choice of all three. And
What
I
made you
spoke
choose RMIT?
it's where my dad went.
Oh, right.
And also I wanted to learn from his name was John. I forget his last name. He was the head of osteo at RMIT for a very long time before
Right.
as
You're talking about
oh, Ray. Yes, Ray. What's his
Ray
name?
Myers, yeah,
Yeah, Ray. Yeah.
yeah.
So I was hoping to learn from him, and then by the time I started, he retired. So, as was my, um, yeah, head of osteo.
New course coordinator, yeah.
Yeah, the
Right.
5 years I was there.
Okay. And I guess, how did you find those 5 years? Like, tell us about that experience at RMIT. What do you think was really great about it, and what, I guess, might you change about it if you were to be,
Um,
doing it all over again?
I really liked a lot of the teaching staff, especially in the later years, and the experience they brought. Um, my very first year, I had Michael Fleischman was our year coordinator at the time. Unfortunately, we only had him for 6 months, but his love and passion for osteo was really, really great in those early years, and is actually one of the reasons I want to teach as well, because I think you need that, just that love and passion for the profession early
Yeah.
on when you're studying those really intense subjects like neuroscience and biochem, and just remembering why when you're
Yeah.
sort of,
Yeah, you need people to bring those to life for you, I guess, and especially with
yeah,
the anecdotal stories of how that presents itself in clinic, and
yeah,
that makes those tough subjects a lot. It makes it easier. You're right.
yeah, yeah. So I'm hoping to be that for the new osteos. So I've always sort of seen myself teaching into those early years, and leaving kind of the later years for all of that depth of knowledge from the osteos that have been training for, 15, 20 years.
Okay. I guess, and then what do you think? I mean, was there anything that you, I guess, would change about your time at RMIT? Are you,
Um,
would you like to have? I mean, yeah, like more hands-on, more
I th-
clinical exposure.
I think I definitely went through the degree in a time of transition, which was really tricky. I think a lot of the osteos that have been teaching there for many, many years left in my first year. They left when Ray left, kind of thing.
Right.
So that was really disappointing because I was kind of going there for that
Okay.
experience. I definitely, and if I did my 5th year in 2020 in Melbourne,
Right. That's a tough time
so
to do your last year,
it was awful.
yeah.
We went almost completely online for that
Yeah.
fifth
Yeah.
year, so we missed out on all of those master classes that you would normally get we were doing our OSCEs in full PPE, both ourselves and our patients, which was super stressful. It's already stressful. And then you're like, how do I do a cranial screen when someone's covered from head to toe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really tricky. I'm so grateful I had like 15 years of myo to lean on. I really felt for my peers who had come straight out of high school into osteo. Like, I think they would have really suffered
Yeah.
for it.
I agree with you. I think they did suffer, and yeah, I think and I think people are still suffering with those kind of years, because I think you never get those back too, right? Like those first few years after you graduate, you want to take the skill set that you've learnt and really apply them. But if you haven't really had that exposure, it's really hard.
Yeah.
I want to ask you. I guess you did myotherapy and you studied that for 3 years. Then you've studied osteopathy as well at RMIT. What did you find? What are the main differences, I guess, between it's a graduate diploma in myotherapy, or is it a bachelor?
It's a degree, yeah, it's a
It's a
bachelor.
degree. So, what did you find were the differences between the two?
I think that I had a bit of a unique experience in that we had osteos teaching directly into our myotherapy degree. So I feel like I was already thinking osteopathically before I got there. So
Okay.
I feel like there is a lot of overlap. I think the biggest difference for me is I used to get frustrated because I would get a patient to a certain point and then have to refer them on. And I'd often refer to osteos, and that used to annoy me. So I became an osteo and didn't
That's a
have
good way
to,
to get about it.
yeah, didn't have to refer to them anymore. I think the skill set I have now or the diagnostic sieve we're taught to use at university is really valuable in diagnosing, because I think once you have that skill set, you can really get to the crux of the problem a lot faster, and then as a result, help your patient faster.
Yeah, definitely. But in terms of actual, I guess, knowledge of anatomy, knowledge of physiology, and neuroanatomy and so forth, was there much of a difference? I really rate the myotherapists that I've come across.
Yeah, no, I think the anatomy and physiology was the same.
Yeah,
We were taught really well in that area. I think neuroscience went into more depth, and then physiology was similar again.
so do you think that there could be, I guess, a quicker pathway, maybe in future for education, if you're looking at the universities that we have and the new course that's about to start? As a myotherapist, do you think there should be a quicker pathway in terms of being able to do osteopathy, like given that their training is as good as you say it is?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, it was. I don't know what it's like in Perth, but my colleague that I work with, who's a myotherapist, is very, very clever, and her understanding of the human body is very good. I definitely think there should. I got one unit of recognised prior learning for osteo.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right.
that was, I was hoping to get a bit more than that. But yeah, I definitely think that it would entice more people to study osteo if there was a more direct
Yeah,
pathway,
definitely.
or I was speaking to one of the teachers at that teach remedial massage on the weekend, and she really wants to do osteo when it comes to Perth. But she was, yeah, concerned about how many RPLs she'd get, and that kind of
Yeah,
was putting her off a bit. And I feel like that's such a missed opportunity. All these people with so many years of hands-on experience missing out on doing the degree because they don't want to study the full. I think it's going to be full 4 years in Perth.
yeah, definitely. I would agree with you there. I think if they've got some hands-on experience, and especially if their course has been, I guess, vetted,
Yeah,
that there shouldn't be a reason why there shouldn't be a quicker pathway. I guess we just need to make sure also that the principles and the philosophy of osteopathy is kind of well taught to people who are coming from other professions. It's a big difference between what we do. I often ask some of the other people that have come on the podcast and who have myotherapists working with them, and I guess one of the things I ask them is like, what's the difference between a myotherapist and an osteopath? And a lot of them would mostly say that the thought process is a little bit different. It's a little bit unique. Osteopaths have a unique way of looking at the body. And so I think if there is a quicker pathway, which I think there should be, that uniqueness needs to still be taught and given
Yeah,
to anyone. Yeah.
they definitely can't be missing out on the fundamentals. But to be fair, they weren't taught well to us in our degree anyway. I'm more aware
Right.
of them
Okay.
from my working with osteopaths and from reading myself. It's
Do you think
definitely,
that do you think that normally happens in the first year of that those fundamentals kind of happen early on, and if you miss
yeah,
out on those, it's a bit of a shame, I guess.
I think
So
so.
from
Because
what
I
you're
think,
saying to me, yeah,
oh,
go
I was
ahead.
going to say, I think they differentiate us from other modalities.
Of course they do, definitely. And and give saying what you just said now that you feel like you feel like that you missed out on it from RMIT. That's a shame.
Yeah.
That definitely, yeah. All right. Well, I guess then you graduated in 2020, end of 2020, going
Mm,
into a workplace that's that's almost shut down from COVID.
yeah.
Tell us, what was that like? I mean, take us back to that time,
Um,
trying to find a job and trying to get into the workforce. What was that like for you?
well, that was the year that I did honours, 2021. So I was still heavily focused on academia. So I just continued to work for myself, knowing that I wouldn't be a very good employee that year, having the honours load on top of me. So I continued to work for myself for 2021, and didn't start working for anyone else until I moved to Perth at the
What was
start
your
of.
caseload? What was your caseload like working for yourself in those times? Like, how many patients were you
Um,
seeing a week?
I was seeing about 30% of my normal load,
Right.
which was full. I was working full time prior to COVID.
Okay.
So yeah, I still kept about 30% because we were only allowed to treat if we were taking load off the medical system.
Right. And this was in
Um,
Melbourne?
yeah,
Yeah, okay. It was a bit of I think it was a bit of a different scenario in Melbourne than it was in Sydney here.
yeah.
We were encouraged to keep treating as much, and
Oh,
we
that's
were
good.
designated as being essential. Yeah, we were designated as being essential. It's one of the things that I really kind of struggled with some of my colleagues here is like some of them voluntarily shut down, and I'm like,
Mm,
it was really eye opening because even the medical system here in New South Wales recognised that we were such an important part of the healthcare system because we took load off the GPs and the hospitals.
yeah,
Even though they recognise it, some people within our own ranks were not really recognising that, which was a shame, really. But
yeah.
I really felt the pain of the people in Melbourne who I would speak to, who would tell me
Yeah, it
that
was
they just,
brutal.
yeah, it was brutal time. When did you come out of that? Like after the honours, 2022 came around, you finished your honours, you came out of that, and then what happened? Where did you go? What was the next step for you?
So then my parents were moving from Canberra to Perth to help care for my nan. And I just decided to do that with them because my son was between year 6 and 7 at the time. So I thought if I was going to move, that was a good time because they'd all be starting high school as new together. Um, and honestly, I thought moving to Perth, I was making a career sacrifice for my family. Like, I just didn't really give osteopathy in Perth much thought. There wasn't a degree here, it wasn't even spoken of. So I kind of thought that I'd be putting my career on hold, really, just kind of working in private practice and caring for my nan. Um, and then after being here for about 12 months, they announced the degree, which was
Yeah,
insane.
wow.
It was
Yeah.
so cool.
And also I guess, did the work surprise you? Like, did you get there and kind of go, hey, there's a lot of work here. There's actually
Yes.
a good place to further my career. Was that
Yeah.
surprising for you?
It was hugely surprising. It has literally been the best decision I've ever made for my career, even though it
Right.
was unintentional.
Or that your parents
Um,
made?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And my son and I just followed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally been the best thing I could have done. Just the depth of knowledge here with the osteopathic community is huge. They're
Yeah.
so excited for new grads. They're so excited to have us here. They're so excited to share their knowledge. You don't even have to work for them, and they still want to train you and teach you and invite you into their practice. Um, and they have, I don't know if you've heard of it, the new grad program.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they have a new grad program here where once a month a different practice will host us, and they usually provide food, which is so generous, and tray and do a CPD night for us.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we just hop along to a different practice and we just get to learn from these amazing osteopaths that are so willing to share what they know. Um, yeah, it's
That's a great
crazy.
program. That's
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
so great. You get to meet other new grads, you get to see all the other practices, meet all the owners, and yeah, it's so cool.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank everyone for watching and listening to the podcast. If you have received value from this episode, the kindest thing you can do for me is to like, share, follow, and subscribe to the channel on whichever platform that you are listening on. If any of the conversations have resonated with you and you feel that I can help elevate your practice, you can find me at successinpractice.net. That is, the Success in Practice program can be found at successinpractice.net. The Success in Practice program is the signature program that takes a practitioner who may be struggling with retaining patients. They may not be certain about building effective treatment strategies, and they may feel somewhat anxious and doubtful about what they are going to do with a patient. And they are not really accelerating in the real world of private practice. It takes this practitioner and it turns their careers right around to the point where the patients have an effective diagnosis and a real treatment plan that they can take home. Patients are happy to book in multiple sessions with you and they are confident about your abilities. And more importantly, you now have direction and are confident about your own abilities. The program streamlines how you operate as a practitioner. Guys, you should have been taught this at university, but you weren't. You may have been practicing for the last few years thinking there has to be a better way. There has to be a more effective way of engaging with patients and getting them results. Well, there is. And this is what the program delivers. Go to successinpractice.net and check out the options available to you. See where I can help you easily grow your patient list and finally earn the rewarding income that you deserve. For all the information on how you can reach me personally, check out the show notes. Also in the show notes, you'll find a link to the chat transcripts from these podcasts. These are valuable and a wealth of information. I really hope that you're enjoying the podcast. Guys, leave a comment if there's any questions on this episode. And please, don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe to the channel. Now, back to the show.
So when I was choosing an honours project, I ended up being really drawn to a neuroscience project looking at microglial cells and their role in brain-centered disease. So after doing that year, I ended up moving to Perth. And my boss, Ray Power, was approached by one of his current patients and introduced to Dr. Perrin's work and asked him if their family flew Dr. Perrin out here, would my boss be willing to learn how to treat their daughter, who at that point had had CFSME for 12 years. And my boss had a look at his work and thought it was awesome and ended up convincing Dr. Perrin to run a course while he was here. I think he ended up only being wheels down for like 72 hours or something crazy like
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
So back then when we did the course, it was only a 2-day course, probably the most massive 2 days of my life. but still only a 2 day course. It's now 3 days and it's still not enough time. So there was about 12 of us that had done the course at that time. It was really exciting to meet Dr. Perrin and realize how my research had linked up so nicely with his research. Yeah, and we got along really well. And then he and I had co-treated with my boss, Ray Power. We co-treated this patient, the three of us. So we did a lot of one-on-one learning and had a lot of one-on-one time with Dr. Perrin. So I feel like we stuck in his brain a bit more. And we just got some, he's just so generous with his time and his knowledge. Like he was just so generous in teaching us how to help this patient. And that was 3 years ago, almost to the day, November 2022, when we had done the course. And we treated this patient for, I think, about 2.5 years, and she's now 100% living her full life,
Wow.
which is insane because she started getting sick at 12 and she was 24 when we met her.
Yeah,
Which
wow.
is,
That's
yeah.
a big change in her life. So I guess then Dr. Perrin gets approached to come and run some courses here across Melbourne, Sydney, and did he teach in Perth as well again at this
Yeah,
time around?
Perth,
Right.
Sydney, 2 in Melbourne and 1 in Brisbane.
One in Brisbane. And so he gets on the phone and says, "Hey, Amanda,
No,
how does it?"
I hit him up.
Right.
March last year, I locked
Yeah.
him in for Australia, November 2025.
Yeah.
So originally it was myself and his VP, Olivia, who had started trying to organise the course to run across Australia. And at that time, we were hoping to get to New Zealand as well, because here at West Perth Osteo, we have 3 Perrin practitioners, and we were just getting inundated, one with patients, but 2 from desperate phone calls from over east of
Right.
people just desperate for a treatment,
Okay.
because before this there wasn't one. They were told it was psychosomatic, which is so heartbreaking, especially with the science that's coming out weekly
Yeah.
at the moment
Yeah.
proving that it's not. So yeah, OA ended up getting on board at the start of this year, which was
So hold on, let me get this right. You guys were originally trying to get the course set up
ourselves.
yourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And then OA came on board. Did you approach Osteopathy Australia? Did they approach you or
No, it was the in the Sydney Morning Herald, the article.
right,
And
right.
then the
So you,
Sydney and then Melbourne picked it up and then Brisbane. Yeah, it kind of just spread after that.
right, so you got the article in the Sydney Morning Herald, and how did that come about? Did somebody just find out about what he was doing and wrote something up on him, or
No, they interviewed him.
they interviewed him? Okay.
Yeah.
And so that article, I guess, sparked some interest from the association here.
It sparked interest from the public, and the
Right.
public were constantly calling osteopathy, like hounding Osteopathy Australia. Where are the practitioners? Like,
Okay.
what's happening? And then they jumped on board with both feet.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. They were phenomenal. They really
Okay.
looked after everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great. Okay.
they looked after Dr. Perrin really well.
And so they kind of took the mantle from you guys trying to organise the courses, and just
Thank goodness.
which I guess that's not your primary job, right? You're an osteopath. You're not
Yeah, I
somebody.
was
Yeah.
just so desperate for him to get over here because we just needed it. We now have 83 licensed practitioners across Australia, which is insane and so
Yeah.
exciting to me. It's
Yeah.
also part of my advanced practitioner qualification. Like I need to teach a certain amount with him, because at the end of it, I would like to be teaching it myself. So, yeah, it was just November was a wild ride. It was awesome.
Okay. Yeah. No, I remember chatting to you, trying to organise this podcast and having a chat to you. You're in an Uber on the way home, on the way back to your hotel room at 10:30 at night.
I know.
So yeah,
I don't know how he does it. He's 65.
yeah. And so how long does each day go for? Like you start at 8, 9 and then you go
Yeah,
to...
we started at 9 and we were ending on average at 6. I
And so
stay up
what makes you stay back till 9, 10 o'clock?
um like like just chatting to osteos, going
Yeah,
out, everyone going out for dinner. Like
right.
it's just a real community.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
It's hard work, but it's like it's work done with love by the sounds of it, which makes it
Yes.
really rewarding. Like you're tired at the end of the day, but it's like, wow,
With a
it's
smile on your face.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
accomplished something, you know? So I get it totally.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, I was volunteering. I wasn't getting paid. I was there just because having two people teaching the section just meant that practitioners were leaving with so much more confidence.
Yeah.
They were having my perspective because Ray created it. Like he is the OG. He's the
Yeah.
one that created this. I was able to teach them from my experience of learning and what I really struggled with and really helped focus on building confidence in them.
Yeah.
So it was just a unique, like he created it. He didn't have to learn it from him, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was really, well, I think it was really valuable. Everyone was very grateful. I feel like I've been a little bit isolated in WA, so I got to meet some pretty awesome osteos. And the
And
osteos, yeah.
you didn't get a chance to travel with him to Brisbane.
I chose not to because my son had exams that week and I wanted to be at home. We have a very fun
Sure.
study routine, so.
And he did that on his own, or was he able to have somebody come out and help him?
No, I had organised an osteo who trained October last year in the States. 3 Queensland osteos flew over and did the course.
Yeah.
So I had organised her for one day and then another osteopath who flew to the UK a few months ago and did the course.
Yeah, great.
So they had 3 practitioners on the Saturday and 2 on the Sunday. So they were really lucky to have those. Everyone just loves it. Everyone's so passionate about it, and we all see the desperation in families
Yeah.
and in patients and how desperate this is needed.
Right. Tell us one thing you learnt this time around that you didn't know about. Like, tell us one thing that you learnt this time that you go, well, okay, this is new. What happened this time around?
Well, one of the things I love about the Perrin Technique is that it's always evolving with the research. Both myself and my boss got caught out for not reading the practitioner newsletter because, because he has updated a few of the techniques since we did the course 3 years ago. And he just looked, and Dr. Perrin just looked at me and he's like, what do you mean you don't know this? And both my boss and I went, uh-oh.
Well, you and Ray?
Yeah.
Right.
We got busted not reading the newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I won't make that mistake twice.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well,
the technique had evolved.
so
Not
you basically relearned that technique then, like, you know, yeah, obviously you didn't know about it. Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's like a 10-step protocol, so one of the steps had changed slightly. The way we were doing it wasn't wrong; it had just evolved.
Right. We're recording this today, and this is today's Thursday, and the Monday before we're recording, the Monday that just passed, I aired Dr. Perrin's episode that I did with him, and so people can go and have a listen to that, and I think they should have a listen to that. But one of the things that really struck me was that, and I mentioned this to him, and I said, why didn't you call it the Perrin protocol? It has a better ring to it, and it sounds like it's more of a protocol than a technique. I mean, did mention that there are some modifications to some of the osteopathic techniques that would traditionally be done. But he also mentioned how he had to, by kind of, that was one of the scoops that we got out of him, that he had to call it the Perrin technique due to somebody misusing that technique in a way that he wasn't really happy with. But I guess what I learned from him was so much more than just the Perrin technique. I think the journey of him going from, hey, something else is happening here in the brain, to the Perrin Technique. That particular journey, I think, is he's come across a whole bunch of other things that he's discovered and he's able to kind of teach as well. Did you find that there was a lot more that, I guess, expanded on other areas of, I guess, cranial therapy, osteopathy in the cranial field, and specific, I guess, techniques to do with lymphatic drainage? Do you find that the evolution of the Perrin technique has added to those fields?
Definitely. I think, especially cranially, we haven't really had that solid link to science previously, and Dr. Perrin's been able to legitimize that. And it was printed in the BMJ, which is pretty epic. The cranial rhythm as a fact. So I think he's definitely pioneering for osteo. He's definitely legitimizing us in a way that has never been done before. And especially with the medical field, because I think once you have the science backing you, it's hard to ignore. I feel like that's true with lymphatic drainage as well. He's found a different way a completely different way.
To drain the
Yeah.
the into the lymphatics rather than I get it. He explained that in the episode.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is really, he's just insanely clever.
Okay. From my conversation with him, I gathered that, he had been thinking about this since 1993, as I understood, which is a long time ago. And the research has really caught up to him.
I agree, yeah.
He had those thoughts, and obviously technology changes and research, tends to kind of evolve, but the research seems like it's caught up to him, which is great. I think that holds true to a lot of other areas of osteopathy as well. I think that, the research tends to kind of catch up to what we're doing. And that's very foundational. It's based on our principles. I think they make sense, and I always said it on the episodes, either they're true or they're not true. They can't be half true.
Yeah.
And so it seems like he's legitimized it by finding the connection, the actual objective measurable connection between cerebrospinal fluid toxicity and drainage and treatment into the lymphatics, and the connection to chronic fatigue. But what seems like is also more interesting is, I think, the knock-on effects of this into concussion, into all types of neurological, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. I mean, that might be something that I don't know when he's going to get tired, and it might be something for other people to grab that ball and run with it. And it seems like you're pretty well placed to do that, Amanda. You're somebody who has a good background in academia and research. Is that something that interests you?
Yes, definitely. Dr. Perrin has offered to be a supervisor for me for my PhD, which I thought I would have started by now, but now doing his advanced course, I have decided to put it on hold until 2027. Because the advanced course is essentially a deep dive into the literature. So I'm hoping after that, I mean, we do go through his PhD with a fine-tooth comb, and the current literature. So I'm hoping through that research, I will be able to sort of hone in on what I want to look at for my PhD. So I know it's going to be related in some way. Dr. Perrin, I'm the only person, to my knowledge, that he's offered to be a supervisor for. He's just so time poor. I just need an Australian supervisor, and the tour that he and I did has introduced me to a lot of osteopathic academics. So hopefully we can find someone who's the right fit to supervise my PhD. Yeah,
great.
So it's all kind of up in the air at the moment. We know that it's happening. It's just sort of locking in the right supervisor in Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
Amanda, what kind of attention is this getting in? I mean, I know that it's going to take a bit of time for the medical community to kind of, and there will be some blowback, I'm sure of it. There will be some kind of naysayers. There's always that. But I mean, the science is the science, I guess, and the
Yeah.
evidence. Once the evidence is there, it's hard to ignore. I think there
Yeah.
needs to be, though, after the evidence comes along, there needs to be a groundswell of practitioners actually practicing it and getting results and having that feedback into the community, feedback into the general practitioners that are going, okay, there's something going on here, let's get onto this. Like there's going to be some results, real world results, not just research. And that's going to take a bit of time to come around, because you said yourself, I think there was something like 12 or 15 practitioners 2 years ago, and now there's 83. And so if that keeps growing year on year, within, I think, the next 5 years, you'll notice, I think there's going to be a big change in that landscape.
Yes. Did Dr. Perrin talk to you about his retrospective study that he's doing?
Not in detail. He did say he was doing one, but he didn't mention
Yeah.
any details
That's
about it.
essentially where the legitimacy will come from, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we use a number of prompts for our patients. And there's one specifically that we are all asking our current and our future patients to sign a consent to release de-identified data. And
Yeah.
essentially, we're going, yeah, he is just trying to get numbers to
You
look
mentioned there
at.
was like 8 different proms that,
Oh,
you know,
that was something different. That is a
right.
research project he'd done previously. This one's a retrospective studies. It's the same way that they legitimize VODA. Are you familiar with the VODA technique?
No.
So the VODA technique is the main technique used for lymphatic drainage.
Okay.
That it's taught. That's what most people use when they use lymphatic drainage. And what they did is they essentially had I think it was 20,000 people that patients, and they didn't screen them at all. These could have been perfectly well patients. They were just like from every walk of life, and they used the VODA technique on them, and they assessed them, and the majority of them felt better. And that's how this entire technique was legitimized in the medical world.
Okay.
And essentially Ray's doing that, but on an it'll be the biggest osteopathic study to date.
Yeah, right. And I
So
guess but that'll be heavily improved with more practitioners that are.
100%, yeah, the more
Yeah.
numbers, the better. So at the moment, we're collecting all of the data for the end of 2026, but that could be pushed out because it's retrospective. So you can keep pushing it
Yes.
out until you've got the numbers. One of Dr. Perrin's patients is actually funding that.
Oh, great.
It's one of the studies they're doing through Cambridge. It's insane.
Yeah, he mentioned he was obviously the NHS didn't really help him out as much as they probably should have. And I guess funding is going to be a bit difficult, but it's amazing how people come on board when you change people's lives,
Yeah,
and the funding comes along.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All of his research is patient funded,
Wow.
which
Wow.
is insane.
It is insane. I want to ask you, I guess, a bit about the actual technique and how it's practically applied. And I guess one of the questions that I got from some of the listeners was, how is the technique actually integrated into daily practice? Like, I mentioned earlier there was also a protocol, and there's some take-home exercises or take-home activities that patients have to do as well. It seems like it's a fairly strictly applied protocol so that the data can then be applied to the outcome. It has to be that way. So how do you specifically, Amanda, yourself, how do you go about integrating that into practice, into your daily practice? Does it take up more of your time? How much time do you allow for each patient? Tell us about some of the practical application of it.
So I definitely think it took me a lot longer initially. I feel like I'm very conscious of cost for patients. You have to have the availability, firstly. Like, you need to be seeing these patients weekly. for a period of time, usually 12 to 24 weeks, depending on how unwell they are. Our first Perrin patient that I mentioned to you before, we saw her weekly for 15 months,
Yeah.
but she was bedridden, completely sensory deprived. She was in a dark room. She's not lying there reading or watching shows. She's in a dark room with no sound, barely toileting herself, and her mum was showering her once a week. So these people are sick. And
Yeah.
she was only coming into us in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course that's going to take longer. Like, she'd been sick for 12 years. So I think availability is a big one. There were definitely
Well, that's
some
costly too. I mean, over the 15 months,
hugely,
if you're gonna, even if it averages at $100 a consult,
yeah,
that's $15,000. You
yeah,
know,
it's a
it's
huge
not.
amount of money. Yeah, so I'm very aware of that. I know that like at our practice, the three of us got together and worked out ways to cut those costs for patients. For example, we have all of our forms are now digitized, so they fill them out before we see them, whereas Dr. Perrin fills it out with the patient. And the reason he does it is important, like, it's really important. We just decided that we were trying to keep the cost down as much as we could. We also have cut one of the other initial treatments. So we don't teach them the home care routine in person anymore. We send them the link to the video that Dr. Perrin's created, and then refine it the following treatment. So we've sort of, yeah, and I have worked very diligently to get my routine or protocol down to like 30 minutes, so we
Okay.
can keep it into a standard osteopathic treatment time.
Yeah, great. No, because I mean, you've got to also, I mean, as a practitioner, you're going to put this into effect to help people. There's got to be I guess, a market positive for you as well. Like, I mean, you can't go broke doing it.
No, no,
So, I understand. I mean, obviously, we all want to help patients, no matter which technique or which treatment we're doing. But you've got to still be able to charge for the time that you
yeah,
spend with the
pay your
patient.
bills. Yeah,
You got to pay your bills, and
yeah,
but I think also patients understand that and especially because there's data there and there's evidence that will give them an outcome. People tend to be understanding, and it's not like the cost is in one go up front. It should be spread out and
yeah,
a little bit easier.
yeah. It's definitely, it is definitely costly, and I'm acutely aware of that. And
Yeah.
I think we've cut it back as much as humanly possible to
Okay.
take some of that load off them.
You don't want to cut back on the quality though, like the actual
Not
treatment
at all.
itself. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we've gotten around it here. And also our late fees we use to help subsidise treatments for patients
Okay.
that are really struggling.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the things that I pressed Dr. Perrin on was, I wanted to really find out if he was promoting this as an osteopathic technique, and he's very passionate about that, and his heart's in the right place. And he initially told me that it was actually called the osteopathic approach to treatment of chronic fatigue.
yeah,
And then obviously the issue happened with
yeah,
the person misusing that particular protocol, and he had to coin it as the Perrin Technique.
yeah,
But I was fairly impressed that he really promotes it as osteopathy.
yeah. I love
The
that
genesis
too.
of it. The genesis of it is based on osteopathic philosophy, osteopathic principles, and hopefully when people like yourself and other practitioners, I'm sure, I mean, you're doing the advanced training at the moment. In the next 10 years, there's going to be likely many more of you that'll do it. My hope is that you'll continue to promote osteopathy, and you'll promote it as an
Hugely, yeah,
osteopathic technique.
definitely.
That's something that's important, I think, for the growth
Yeah,
of the profession as a whole,
yeah,
and that people with chronic fatigue have had a solution through osteopathy.
yeah, yeah. And I think one of the things I loved so much about the course is that going around Australia, I got to meet all of these osteopaths that thought about osteo the same way we did. and that love it as much as we do and that are so passionate about it. And everyone kept commenting on how much they loved how Dr. Perrin stuck to the osteopathic principles and how passionate he was about them. I think that that can be missing sometimes in CPD. And yeah, it's really
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely missing in CP. I mean, maybe across some CPD and others, it's definitely missing. I would hope that it continues on in the universities. I would hope that,
I hope so too.
I think there's a rule. We're going to, this is a good segue into the new course over at ECU. I just hope the osteopathic philosophy and principles permeate through that course, and
Yeah.
people like yourself and others who are teaching there are really pushing the foundational principles of osteopathy. I hope that I think Annette, who's looking after that course, gets a whole bunch of really passionate osteopaths and lets them run with it and kind of makes that. I think you're really well positioned. This new course in a very short time can be very well positioned to be actually producing the best graduates in the country.
Yeah, honestly, from what they showed us at the last meeting, it looks phenomenal. Like we were all jealous when we saw it.
Yeah,
It looks really good, and
yeah,
I love that it's opening up the opportunity for new grads to not only work in private practice, but to also work in the health sector. So it's just giving new grads more options, or if they get injured, they can still be an osteopath. They might just be working in a different capacity.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just love the options it gives. It gives the new grads that will come out of this degree.
So what's your role going to be there, Amanda? At the I mean, you're teaching there at the moment.
Yeah, I teach anatomy and physiology at the moment, mostly to allied health, but also to biomed, pharmacy, and paramed. So I'm definitely advocating for how awesome osteo is and that they should all swap. But I don't know how many of them will.
Yeah,
But I'm definitely, and so the osteos will do the course that I'm teaching as well. There'll only be, from my understanding, about 20 going through the first course, maybe less. So the need for teachers isn't great at the moment. There'll be a head of osteo, and maybe one full timer and me.
right.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works logistically at the moment, because the degree won't start until 2027, from my understanding.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, there's a real opportunity there. I think when you start fresh, you can make sure. And look, I mean, not to take anything away from ECU, I think it presents itself as a university that is, I guess, able to be a little bit more flexible in the way that it presents education. It doesn't seem like it's got. I mean, it's not an older university like RMIT or Victoria University, and so maybe the bureaucracy there isn't as entrenched in old
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, I definitely love working there. My experience has only been positive so far. I love that all of the people I've been in contact with so far, all of the people in power that I've met have all been women. I just think women in academia it's definitely a male dominated industry, and that shift seems to be happening, and definitely through ECU. So from that perspective, I love it. I love how much they want to hear from the osteo community. I feel like that can only be good for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm at the moment like the only osteo on staff, so I'm out there representing and hopefully sharing my love of osteo with everybody.
Yeah. I guess, one of the concerns of a university when it starts a new course, and probably one of the main things that it looks at, and what makes a course attractive is can the graduates find work once they graduate? It's really one of the attractive things and what makes the course sell, I guess. Tell us about, and this is a good segue into the next question, about the landscape of osteopathy in Western Australia, specifically Perth, if you want to talk about that. Do you think there's the work there? Do you think that there's the opportunity there? is there a current, are you guys getting inundated with, all the practitioners are fully booked and busy? And I mean, tell us about what's going on over in Western Australia with osteopathy.
Hello everyone, just a quick break to give you some information on where to best find me. The first place is the private Facebook group called the Successful Practitioner Pathway. I've set up this private group as a place where practitioners can go and get tips and advice on how to best accelerate their practice and improve their clinical practice skills. The second place to find me is at successinpractice.net. That is where the Success in Practice signature program is housed. You can find more information about me and how I can best help you achieve success in your practice. So, the two best places, the private Facebook group, the Successful Practitioner Pathway, and successinpractice.net. I will link to both those places in the show notes, so for more information, please see the show notes. Now, enjoy and back to the show.
Well, just for perspective, in WA, there's one osteopath for every 40,000 patients.
Okay.
So there is capacity for this to grow. I think in Victoria, it's one osteo to every 4,000 patients or something like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that there is room. There is room. We are desperate. We are all at capacity.
Yeah.
Especially as Perrin practitioners. Like I literally can't take any more people on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think there's room. There's so much room for growth in WA, and they're such an active state that I feel like there always will be work.
Yeah.
And WA is massive. It's
Yeah.
so big. The rural communities are desperate for healthcare. Like they've got some amazing opportunities, and hopefully we can get osteo on the ticket as well for nurses and doctors to work rurally and having some of their HECS debt paid.
Yeah. And has that been presented to the university in terms of the need for osteopaths and their, I guess, the job security they will have once they graduate?
I definitely think there's been conversations being had with the osteo community in the university. I don't know. I'm not a business owner in WA, so
Right.
I don't know where those conversations have led. But there's definitely capacity. We're all full. All the osteos that are here have been here for 10 plus years. They're
Yeah.
chockers. They can't
Yeah.
take any more on.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're desperate for some new grads.
All right. Well, hopefully also the injection of youth, people that have just graduated who want to build businesses and want to build practices, I think that'll help market the profession a little bit more as well. I mean, people are going to want to inject their time and effort and energy and love into
Yeah.
building their own practices, and that's going to grow the profession as a whole.
Yeah, and just having more staff for the current osteopathic businesses. I
Yeah.
can't imagine how hard it is when every new grad pretty much is transient. They're only here for a time
Yeah.
and then they're moving home. Like that must be so hard for them to invest all of that time and energy and money into them for them only to leave.
Yeah. Well,
So it'll be
now hopefully they can stay now. I mean,
yeah, they're born and bred in Perth, so they may
that's
stay.
it. They
Yeah,
will
but
stay, definitely. I mean, that's been the experience for us trying to get people from Melbourne to come, Melbourne and the Gold Coast to come and work. Is that no matter how much you pay them, people just don't want to uproot themselves and I mean, you understand more than anybody how painful that can be. But people just kind of move away from their families and their parents and their loved ones and their communities and aunties and uncles and cousins and all that kind of stuff and their friends that they grew up with their whole life just to go to another state to try to get some work. It's not ideal and
it's not realistic for most people, is it?
it's not realistic for most people, and that they're entitled to that too. Like they're entitled to work where they grew up,
Yeah,
it's not
treating their communities. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. I want to, I guess, finish off with one more question, and I know that one of the things that I guess you can be, we talked about your involvement with the Perrin Technique. We talked about, I guess, your involvement with ECU, and you're only a young practitioner, so this question might seem a little bit daunting, but I want you to have a crack at it. If Amanda was head and chief of osteopathy in Australia, what would you like to see happen for the profession in the next 10 years? Like, what do you think would be a great place for the profession to go?
I definitely think moving back to our roots. I feel like we're losing what we are. I think that without our foundations, we're just glorified physios. And I feel like
Why do a lot of people say that to me on the podcast? I mean, this is a common theme, right? You're not the first
because
person that said
they're
that.
because we learnt zero cranial in our degree. Zero.
Right.
And I feel like it goes back to our founding father. Without treating the waters of the body, we're doing our patients a disservice. And we're not being taught how to do that. And I feel like Dr. Perrin legitimizing cranial in the way that he did and having it published in such an important journal is step one. I think we need to continue to teach our new grads why osteopathy is so awesome. And I feel like I was a mature age student, and I had some great mentors. So I learnt outside of university why. But I feel like that's being lost. I feel like we're just being trained like physios were. And it's so disappointing. Like we're all kind of converging into the same thing, and I feel like that's not beneficial to any of our professions.
How do you think we go about circumventing that?
Well, I think bringing the fundamentals back as a major part of our degree is really important, and I think teaching
Right.
cranial into our degree is really important. I think that's what differentiates us, or one of the factors that differentiate us to other modalities.
Right. Well, we did. I mean, I went through in 2000. I graduated in 2003, and I was the second year group to go through the University of Western Sydney program. And we were taught all that stuff. We were taught the
Yeah.
foundations, the principles. We were taught cranial. We were taught indirect techniques,
Yeah.
functional technique, counter strain. You know, we had Caroline Stone come out and teach us. We had Rosalba Courtney come out and teach us breath work. We had Viola Fryman come out, and
Yeah, that's crazy.
we had all this stuff, back then.
That's
Ivan
so
Lullerman,
cool.
and yeah, so
Yeah.
you had all these really wonderful people come out and teach,
Yeah.
and I guess that's still available. Why do you think? I've had Gary Fry on the podcast. I've had Dr. Az. I've had Az on the podcast.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be better placed to answer that because he had to deal with the bureaucracy of the university.
Yeah. So I've asked these questions, and I guess I don't know if I'm totally happy with the response, but I mean, Gary's response was that, look, that's there and available to them. And to his credit, after our conversation, he actually went back and looked at the course structure and made some changes, and that was great. But all the osteopaths that I've been interviewing for these podcasts and having a chat to, I guess 90% of them have said we need to go back and make sure that the new generation of osteopaths are not left behind when it comes to fundamentals, principles,
Yeah.
and foundations.
Yeah.
And you've just reiterated that. So I guess, but how? How do we do that? If it's something that the universities have kind of, in their own way, pushed out, because you bring things in, there are things that have to come in, like, I'm looking at the RMIT program, and it's got, a subject that I never got taught, like something like, cultural sensitivities in medical practice, and so for me, I guess, you need to be sensitive to different cultures. But to me, a person's a person. Like I'm looking at them as a human being. I'm looking at them as as somebody who has, a problem that they're coming to see me with. And, do I need to know cultural nuances? Yes, I do need to know that. But I don't know if that's my primary role. And I don't know if that's worth getting rid of foundations, principles, cranial, whatever you want to call it, getting rid of that to put that in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so...
Yeah, it's definitely, I think we're also coming out in a different landscape. Like we had a whole semester of NDIS.
Yeah.
I literally still have no idea. Like, I
Well,
feel like
it's an ever evolving thing, right?
yeah,
Like
I
it
feel
changes
like
all
it
the
wasn't the
time.
most valuable
Yeah.
use of my time because I literally left not understanding anyway. I feel like it's such a complicated web, and we do a whole semester now of law. Like we
Yeah.
have a lawyer come out and
Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, I think from that perspective, like that was probably the most valuable thing that one of the most valuable things that I did. But yeah, they are definitely diverging, and I think it's possibly because they want graduates to have more options because we're losing a lot of new grads in that first 5 years.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think we're losing them though because they don't know osteopathy. Like that's part of the reason why we're losing them, because it's
yeah,
nothing
maybe.
sustains you. The first 2 or 3 years in private practice is difficult. Like you need to, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to
Yeah.
kind of like cut your teeth with volume and patience. And
Mm,
if you don't have anything backing you up there in terms of foundations, you're going to really struggle. And
yeah.
if you struggle, you're going to not do well, and if you don't do well, you're not going to see patients. If you don't see patients, you're not going to make money. If you don't make
Yeah.
money, you're going to go. You're going to find somewhere that's going to give you money. So I
Yeah. I
get
don't.
that bit,
Yeah.
but like I can see what's happening. University courses are bringing things in, but to bring them in, you've got to take stuff out because there's only so much they can teach. But I
Yeah.
think we're just we're
They're
throwing the
trying
baby
to.
out with the bathwater.
Yeah, they're trying to cut the degree down. Like, did you do 5 years as well? Did you
We did
study?
5 years, yeah, with a two
Yeah.
years
So
masters.
I think they're all trying to cut the degrees down into four, because it's a better model for universities to make money. But I
Yeah,
also think that with the lack of science behind cranial, universities were struggling to swallow that.
yeah,
So
I
that's
get
why
that.
I think that's why Dr. Perrin legitimizing it in the way that he did is so valuable for our profession. I don't think people, whether or not it's true or accurate, I don't think people understand the value of what he's done for us
Right.
and the degrees moving forward. It gives us a platform to stand on to fight for it to be in degrees.
Yeah, definitely.
And I will
Well,
definitely be fighting
yeah,
for that. That's for sure.
yeah, great. No, all power to you. Hopefully, I guess, yeah, hopefully that. Well, at the very least, I mean, the foundations and the principles, especially the four principles of osteopathy, that they should be something that just permeates through. Not every practitioner is going to want to go down the chronic fatigue pathway. People want to go down sports, and they want to go down,
Yeah.
treating aged care and geriatrics and pediatrics and pelvic health and women's health, and there's so many
Yeah.
different ways they want to go down. But the foundations are the foundations. They apply across the
Exactly.
board, and
Yeah.
so we don't want to lose that.
No.
And so, yeah, that's the thing. It's how do we circumvent that? If we can't circumvent it at a university level, maybe we need to have some kind of system or some kind of graduate
Compulsory
diploma,
CPD or
or
something.
just even a grad dip, a graduate diploma in foundations or something of the sort that you could do. But that's all good talk over a drink, I guess. Amanda, I want to thank you for your time tonight. I know that you've just been practicing and you've taken some time to record this, so thank you very much. Hopefully, we get to see you with Dr. Perrin again next year, teaching and kind of
Hopefully.
providing that. From what I understand, he will be back next year, because there were a lot of people that I've been talking to that have said, "Damn, I missed out on it. I should have done it."
I definitely think the word will spread quickly.
Yeah,
It's very profound. I think the people that did it were surprised at how much literature there was to back what he does.
yeah. And
So
it seems
yeah,
like there's more coming. There's more literature coming.
it will be a 4-day course from 2027.
Yeah,
Like
wow.
there's so much coming out now.
Yeah, I'm sure that then I'm sure you'll probably look at doing something online. If there's just literature that you got to deep dive into, there may be. I mean, is this something that you think will happen, where there will be a practical component that will be face to face, and then there'll be a online component?
I definitely have been talking to him about this because I think that from what I've seen, there are a lot of osteopaths that are doing the course that don't have the capacity to take the patients on. There are a number of GPs that did the course who don't want to do the practical side of things. So I have been speaking to him about the opportunity of just having the literature side separate, because I think that could be really valuable. Yeah, still CPD, but maybe not.
Yeah,
They don't have the capacity or the desire to treat hands on in that way.
yeah, definitely. definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time. Stay on the line with me, but for everyone else, thank you for joining me for this episode. We'll be back soon, and have a good evening.